Hey guys, it's Corey from Redefining Strength, and today I wanted to go over the proper form for the basic front plank. Whether you're doing it from your forearms or your hands, I wanted to review how you could modify it, how you can dial in your form, and really get the most out of it. Because while it's a basic movement, it's not an easy movement. And we've gotten into this mentality of trying to hold for longer when really we need to engage harder. So I really wanted to give you tips and tricks to help you dial in your forearm front plank. The basic front plank done off your forearms, and I'll show you from the side here. You want your feet together, you want your elbows underneath your shoulders, your legs are squeezing together, you're flexing your quads, you're bracing your abs, you're engaging your back, okay? Your head is in line with your spine, you're not rounding up, you're keeping everything flexed, you're squeezing your butt, you're drawing those abs in. It is a nice straight line driving back through your heels, okay? You should begin to shake if you engage everything correctly. What we see a lot of times though is people's elbows out in front because their upper traps are over engaged and they're shrugging, their head is jutting forward or they're tucking their chin. You'll see butt up in the air, right? Or you'll see hips sort of sagging towards the ground as people try and focus on holding longer, not on holding harder. A modification we often see, but it's good to note that it is a modification, is people spreading their feet wider. This gives you a more solid base to hold the plank. And while it's not bad, if you can keep your feet together, it makes it harder. It allows you to engage your inner thighs. Think about really squeezing your butt, and it doesn't give you that wide base to depend upon. When you hold the plank, it's okay to also get a little posterior pelvic tilt. So slightly tucking those hips under, drawing that belly button in towards the spine. When you do that though, unless you're intentionally doing a plunge plank, you don't want to see this happening, okay? You don't want to see people rounding their upper back. You want people to engage the sides of their back, engage between their shoulder blades so they have a nice straight line, tucking those hips under just slightly to engage those abs a little bit harder. If you do struggle to engage your abs, doing a plunge plank on purpose can be a great way to sort of round out and hollow out that belly even more. It's mimicking sort of that vomiting cat position where you're drawing your belly button in towards your spine and can help with ab bracing, especially if you struggle to not have your low back take over. To modify the plank, we often go down to our knees, but another great way to modify is off of a bench, because this allows you to engage in the same way you would off the ground, driving back through the heels, flexing the quads, squeezing the butt, bracing the abs, engaging the side of your back to support your shoulders so you're not shrugging up. You want to make sure that your elbows aren't way out in front, that you're actually consciously driving back through your heels. Both this variation off the bench and off the ground can also be done in the high plank position. So from your hands, with your hands underneath your shoulders, your fingertips spread wide, engaging your back, bracing your abs, everything in a nice straight line. This is great, especially if you want to improve your push-ups. It can be harder if you have wrist injury or a lack of wrist mobility, but thinking about really spreading the fingers so you can grip the ground is really key. You don't want to be rocking out or rocking in. You can also do plank with grips, so even switching around here, so holding the plank with this, or even the backs of the hands. Note, if you're going to do this, this is a much harder variation and requires a lot of wrist strength and wrist mobility. You could even start off the incline. But if you do have shoulder injuries or wrist injuries, doing the forearm plank is a great place to start. This is going to engage and work your arms a little bit more, being in that high plank position. You can also use different holds in the push-up as planks, because the push-up is basically a moving plank. So if you want to challenge yourself, you could also hold something in the middle or even at the bottom of the push-up, and this is basically that plank position too, but a more challenging variation. If you're going to build up towards that plank, don't think about holding longer, okay? Think about holding harder. Run through all the different areas I said you should feel engaging as you do it, and remember, you can always modify off the incline, or if you do struggle to engage those abs, you can use that plunge position to really hollow out that belly. Again, when you're doing this though, you don't want anything spread out, okay? You don't want to try and widen out your base or push forward onto your toes. You want to be driving back. You want to think flex the quads, brace the abs, engage the side of the back, keep the body in a nice straight line, and make sure that you're even squeezing your glutes. Run through those things, because when we actually repeat the muscles that should be working, a lot of times it helps us engage them a little bit harder. Hope those tips to dial in your planks really helped. Use those planks. They're a great tool to really build core stability, but make sure you're focused on engaging harder and getting the right muscles to work instead of just holding for longer and letting your low back take over. Hope you enjoyed the video. Dial in those planks.